Hi everybody, welcome back to Indycar. I'm Gordon Ross. Sometimes on this show I get things wrong, or I actually don't realise something has happened and I don't realise the significance of it. And today's one of those occasions. An old friend of mine, Fred Burst, was pointing something out to me in a private message last night which I had forgotten about, completely and utterly forgotten about, with regards to the Lisbon Treaty. That's the treaty which binds us to the EU, and it's the same treaty of which we signed Article 50 a couple of years ago, committing us to leaving the European Union. Now, the treaty, as you probably know, was drafted with the help of a British diplomat, and it has a number of so-called articles. In other words, these are the conditions of the treaty. And we all know about Article 50, because that's the one which says the conditions under which you would leave the European Union. And I had also mentioned Article 49 as well in a previous post, but what I forgot to mention, and what Fred has reminded me of, is something very fundamental. There's another article in the European Treaty, article, I'm sorry, driving instructors, we go on junctions all the time. Article 48. Now, Article 48 is the article which allows a nation to amend the treaty that it has signed. In other words, to change either the conditions, the title, or some other part of the treaty. And it can do that by applying to the European Union as an existing member to change some aspect of the treaty. Now, those of you who are still remember it, before the 2014 referendum, we were told by Better Together, when we said that we thought we would be able to stay in the EU, they said, oh no, you won't, because if you leave the United Kingdom, you become a third party, a third country, as the European Union calls it. The United Kingdom would become what's called the successor state, and this is what we were told back in 2014. So in other words, the successor state, as it's called, is the one which would remain in the European Union, and that successor state in 2014 would have been what was left of the United Kingdom. Now, Brexit has turned that entire situation over, and it's now the other way around. This was what Fred was trying to remind me about, and that means that if we vote to leave Brexit, to leave Britain, leave the UK, before Brexit happens, then it is the United Kingdom which will become the third state, the one outside of the European Union. And Scotland, having been a UK nation, part of that, then becomes the successor state, because we would be the only people who had not Brexited out of the whole UK. Our country would still, to all intents and purposes, be a member of the European Union. Now, in that situation, Scotland, as the successor state, believe it or not, would probably still be known, at least partially in Europe, as the United Kingdom, because we would be what's left of it. We would be the remnant of the United Kingdom which didn't leave in Brexit. So that means that we would then have the right to then write to the Council of Europe and the European Union to say we request an amendment to the treaty. Since we are now the only people left in the United Kingdom to whom the treaty applies, we need to change the terms of the treaty to reflect the new reality. And the new reality is Scotland is approximately a tenth of the size of the population of the UK. We would need to adjust our membership payments into the EU and our contributions to other projects in which the United Kingdom had a stake. And those would need to be scaled down to approximately 10% as well. And the name of the country would need to be part of the amendment. So in this way, Scotland, having left the UK before Brexit occurs, would become the successor state, and the UK would become the third country, the one out in the cold. And this is, as I said, an entire reversal of what they told us would happen to Scotland. Now, because of Brexit, the British government has turned the situation around so that Britain, or what is left of it, England and Wales, I guess, maybe Northern Ireland if they decide not to reunify, but what is left of the UK is no longer the UK in terms of the European Union, because what's left of the successor state is Scotland, and Scotland would be the last bit of the UK still in the EU. And because of that, we become the successor state. We inherit the EU membership. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and the person who suggested this, my friend Fred, is not a lawyer either. But what he says makes perfect sense. And I've read the Acts of Union. I've read Act 48. It doesn't specify what the amendments are. It only says that the state which wants to make the amendments has to be an existing member of the EU, which we are and would be, and the government of that part of the EU would need to request the amendments from the European Union, and they would be agreed by the European Parliament and the Council of Europe, and then ratified, and then those amendments would be put into force. So in legal terminology, at least in terms of the treaties, Scotland is the successor state, but only if we exit the UK before Brexit occurs. And this is another piece of legal manoeuvring that we have to do. And I'm absolutely certain that the Scottish Government knows all about this particular route into staying in the EU. There is always, if the European Union decided to interpret their own rules completely differently from the way they're written, and decided that Scotland was in somehow or other a third country, having been created by the splitting up of the UK, which I honestly would struggle to find any legal reason to interpret it that way, when Scotland had already a 62% mandate to stay in the EU and was only leaving the United Kingdom to avoid leaving the EU. I can see no practical and no legal and no moral reason why the European Union would deny us the right to succeed the United Kingdom as the holder of that membership. There's no reason at all. We would be 10%, we would be the bit that was left over from the United Kingdom that still remains in the EU. And in many ways, it would simplify the legal aspects, it would simplify the writing of the treaties, it would simplify and speed up the processes of what we would call commuting our membership from being 65 million people down to 5.5 million, or 55 down to 5.5, whatever the figure is. But that would be commuted down to a suitable scale for a country of Scotland's size, and taking into account its already excellent health financially, economically, its resources, its exports, and its potential for growth. All of those things together would make Scotland a very attractive proposition as the successor state. So there you have it, folks. Something which I plainly missed. I'm happy to admit that I had not thought of this. It took Fred Burse, an old friend of mine, to point it out to me last night, and he said there might be some mileage in this. And I had a look at the Articles of Union last night and read them through again, and I can't see any reason why we couldn't do it. It makes perfect sense. The European Union would find it much easier to keep Scotland in than to have us ejected out and then have to come back in again later on. Europe has a problem with its integrity at the moment. The less it loses of the nations within it, the stronger the European Union will be. It would be stronger if Scotland remained in. It would mean losing only 90% of the UK, keeping the other 10%, which has, let's face it, a huge amount of potential and a huge amount of resources. A valuable part of the European Union could be retained with very little paperwork. And I think that's the key element here. We could sell this in terms of the European Union to their diplomats by saying, look, this simplifies things for you. Only England and Wales and maybe Northern Ireland would be exiting. Scotland would remain as an EU country, and you simply have to rewrite the treaty to reflect the smaller scale of the country, because Scotland legally would inherit the membership. We would be the successor state. We would not be the country leaving the EU. We would be the country which wants to stay in the EU. And that's it. I leave you with that interesting and positive thought to mull over the weekend. And hopefully I'll see you all again on Sunday. Bye for now.